What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Paco Siller, also known as Francisco, but I go by Paco. And I'm here with my good friends, Alivia and Zach Fields.
Hey!
Now, hey, say what's up. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. So we're going to get into their introduction in just a sec, but of course, as always, we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. Just want to call out all the things that are coming up, what's going to happen today, and the schedule. So with the schedule, let's have a look at that. So here's all the sweet stuff that happened today. We're now at the 12 p.m. Pacific time segment, which is video editing. So we're going to be doing some Premiere Pro work. We're going to be looking at Lightroom and possibly After Effects, I think. Maybe. Yes, I'm seeing Zach nod. You can't see Zach, but he's nodding yes. Great. Then after that, we have XD Daily Creative Challenge with Jesse Showalter. And of course, Designing in the Dark with Happy Impulse and... There we go. I did it again. Third time's the charm. I played that intro like I did last time. Cool. So I want to paint the picture of who Zach and Alivia are. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my screen and just show you a little bit of their portfolio. So here is Alivia Fields' Instagram. Go ahead and give her some love. Hit that follow button. Here's all her amazing work. She's got a very clean, awesome, warm, consistent tone across of it. It's amazing. It's her signature look. Great stuff. And then also here is their YouTube channel where they post a lot of their content. And speaking of a YouTube channel, we're actually going to look at the video that they worked on yesterday, and it's awesome, smooth playback goodness. So let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick. All right, here we go. Yes, I love it.
Thank you.
Beautiful. That came out so good. So for everybody who doesn't know, that was the video that we worked on yesterday, and that was the final end result. And I think it came out so good. You couldn't
Thank
see me, but
you.
I had a smile on my entire face.
Oh,
So yeah, I think that came out so great. So congratulations, guys. That was an awesome edit.
Thank
And
you.
again, for those of you just tuning in today, check out day one because Olivia and Zach worked all the magic that came to bring that video to life. So that came out so cool. All right, so with that introduction, Olivia and Zach, we've already showed some social video, showed some of the videos that you guys do. So just tell us a super quick intro and who you two are, and then we'll just jump right into video editing.
absolutely. So, my name is Olivia. This is my husband, Zach, and we are actually just in rooms right next to each other right now. So, hey, Zach.
What's up?
So, I am a full-time photographer and content creator, primarily working in the social media space. And then Zach is my multi-talented, multifaceted husband. He, contrary to popular belief, actually does not do this full-time or at all for money. He just helps me with my work because he works full-time for his family business, and he also is training to be a pilot. So he's usually in the air. I'm usually down here just working away, waiting for him to get home and help me with all of the stuff that I don't know how to do by myself. So we live in Oregon. We live right outside of Portland. And yeah, that's a little bit about us. We primarily do a lot of travel and lifestyle content, except we've been omitting the travel part this year. So just a lot of lifestyle at home goodness. And it's been super fun. And we're excited to be kicking off this day 2 with you guys. Yesterday we worked on, as Paco said, like a longer form video for my YouTube channel. And today we're going to be working with vertical video. So switching up the camera angle a little bit because we've noticed that vertical video has become really popular, and it's been a really great skill set to have with the rise of social media applications like Instagram TV and Instagram Reels, TikTok, all that crazy stuff. So we're working on vertical video today. And then also kind of our own little twist is we're going to be making a stop motion video. That is something that I've started to do just on my Instagram page for fun. And we've gotten a lot of questions from people just not really understanding how exactly you make stop motions. They don't know if it's photos or videos or how you kind of combine the two together. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be sharing you guys through that process.
I love it. Let's get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to your screen, Zach.
Cool.
While we're on the screen, I want to give some love to the chat. Just want to say, hey, everybody, welcome. We have Anmal, we have Voodoo Val, we have Jay, we have Jack Watson, Johnny, we have Johnny again. Yes,
Two
that's
Johnnies.
great. Cool. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Please go ahead and type in the chat and let us know where you're tuning in from. Yesterday, we had such a crazy worldwide audience. It was so cool to see where everybody was tuning in from. So go ahead and engage with us in the chat. Let us know how you're doing, where you're from, and please do not hesitate to ask us any questions. So we're here live streaming to help you out with anything video related. If you have any questions of Zach's workflow or Olivia's workflow with any type of editing, please, this is a safe space to ask. We're all here to learn. Okay. So cool. Let's get into it, Zach.
Cool. All right. So I'm just going to give you guys kind of a little sneak peek of what we're working on today. And then we'll turn it over to Olivia and she'll kind of take the first section for us. So we'll just run through a little bit of the stop motion that Olivia and Paco were both talking about. So this is kind of the bread and butter of the video that we're doing today. So basically our idea was we're taking this log that we cut down from my work, and we're turning it into a pretty like piece of furniture because that's something that Olivia's been getting lots of questions about because her mom made her one when she was younger. And we're like, well, why don't we, make a video and show people how it's done? So yeah, we're going to start out in Lightroom and show you kind of how Olivia edits all these photos because this is a photo compilation. So basically, as we worked through the process of making this log, we took a photo every little step along the way, not necessarily at a specific time interval, but more like a progress interval. And then she edits them. And from there, we take it over into Premiere and start editing the video.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, let's jump over to Olivia and she'll kind of show you her Lightroom workflow for how we get started with these videos.
Cool. So Olivia, when you can, go ahead and share your screen. And I'll
All right.
work my magic and we'll hop on over. All right, so we're hopping onto your screen now. Boom. All right, we're on your screen.
Cool. So I guess before I jump into things, I should actually like talk about a little bit why we're making this video. So we've taken up kind of some hobbies during this time at home. You know, a lot of people have been learning TikTok dances and I don't know, people have been learning all kinds of crazy things, cooking and stuff like that. We kind of fell into woodworking a little bit. So as Zach said, I have this little like wooden tree stump that was taken from a tree that fell down in my old front yard when I was a kid. And I share pictures of it sometimes and people ask all the time, like, where did you get this? How can I get one? Like, where'd you buy it? I'm like, you can't buy it. It's from my tree. So we had a family friend that had a tree get cut down. And so we got to thinking like, like, what are you going to do with that tree? Could we have it? So we basically have a bunch of these little, like just a few feet high, like wooden little like tree stumps. And we're going to kind of be like opening a little small business of like our woodworking skills. And so this is actually a video that we're making to promote like the launch of our little small shop. So yeah, that's kind of the backstory.
You continue to impress me. Day 2 and I'm still learning so much more about you too. That's a great idea. I love it.
Yeah, we're really excited. We love like incorporating like earth elements into the home. And so you guys are seeing the first look at the business that we have not yet talked about. So don't tell anyone yet. Okay, so
while we're at it real quick, I just want to call out people where they're coming in from before we get too far into it. So we have people tuning in from Miami, from Louisville, Kentucky, all the way from India, from Saudi Arabia, VFX artists, Northern Ireland, Orange County. The list goes on. That's awesome. Thank you all. Again,
love that.
Stay tuned with us. Cool. Ask us any questions. We will answer them. Just engage with us. So cool. Let's get to it.
Yes. Okay. So when it comes to making stop motion videos, how I personally like to go about it is setting my camera on a tripod, making sure it stays completely still, and then taking a series of photos. Obviously, you can see here there's 66 photos in the like stop motion portion of the video. And basically what we do is we take a shot and then move the subject, take another shot, move the subject. We'll have a large series of photos. And then what I'll do is I'll bring them all into Lightroom. And this is a little different than how I typically edit my photos because usually I'll bring my photos into Bridge first. I'll cull them down, find the best ones. But in this case, I need every single photo that we took. So I just imported straight into Lightroom. And as you can see here, just by looking at the small thumbnails of the pictures, we had quite a bit of a lighting change because we were shooting kind of in the later hours of the day. So it gets a lot more warm and golden down at the bottom. So what we're going to be doing today is just going through how I typically edit all of my stop motion pictures to try to keep them as cohesive as possible. And yeah, I'm going to show you guys how I do that. So let's start with the first photo.
Let's see it.
So what I'm going to do is the edit that I do to this photo, that's what I'm going to copy and paste onto every single photo in the library. So that's kind of a cool thing about this is I don't really have to edit a ton. I just have to do it one time and then adjust as need be.
It's definitely one of the beautiful things about Lightroom is you just kind of make your edits on one picture, assuming it's sort of the same set setting lighting. You can just copy and paste, do the bulk of that work, and then adjust accordingly as you go down the line.
Yeah, it's great. Question for you, Zach. I know you're going to be editing these. Do you have a preferred like ratio for the photos, or do you want me to just leave it just like this?
I would say let's leave it as big as you can make it, and then we can always crop everything down to size in Premiere.
Okay, cool.
That's actually a good question. I always like to, when we're doing these sort of things, make sure that, including vertical video, which we'll talk a bit more about later, is I always shoot it as wide as I can. and export the image in the full resolution, because I really like to be able to tweak it in Premiere if I see something different or if I need to, shift it up or down. It's always good to have more image to work with than less.
I agree. And I think yesterday you were working in 4K
Mm-hmm.
predominantly, and I think was that a 1080 canvas in Premiere, or was it 4K?
It was 4K, correct?
Yeah. So that gives them a lot of wiggle room to kind of adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just like fixing the like coloring. I added my standard preset that I use for all my photos, which just has the colors and the curves all set to how I like them. But now I'm just going in and adjusting because it was a pretty cool toned image, as you guys can see. So I'm just kind of fixing that up a little bit. It's obviously needs to be cropped, or not cropped, needs to be rotated as well. So gonna do a little bit of that. And
That's already a big difference. What's that favorite? Yep, there we go.
definitely, yeah,
favorite
the
shortcut.
forward slash
The forward
key.
slash key. So
If
it's
you
always
guys
cool to
aren't
hit
using that, yeah.
Yeah, it's good to see the before and after. And you already see with a couple changes that Olivia did. I mean, this is already a totally different photograph tonality. It's looking awesome.
Definitely. And it's like kind of cool because we're literally just creating this it's just like for fun. Like it doesn't actually have to match my like Instagram like aesthetic, which is great because like I said, we're making a whole new business out of this. So
we have
got
Edwin joining us
free
from the
reign.
chat. Hello, my friend. Welcome. Johnny is saying more wiggle room is always good. I agree.
Yes, I'm glad that you all agree with that. I really like these like graduated filters here for just kind of adjusting only certain parts of the photo. This like bottom part is really cool tone just because the color of the like bark there. So I'm just gonna like kind of warm up the bottom to match the top half. And I think that looks a lot better already.
Nice. And while you're doing that, forgive my pronunciation if I don't nail it. I'll try my best. But Abdul Rahman is asking, was this shot on a phone or a DSLR?
That is a great question. This was shot on a DSLR. We shoot with a Fuji X-T3 camera, which is great. We love it. And we just set it on a tripod. And then we have like a little remote cord that attaches into the camera. And then on the other end of it, it has a remote. So I just literally stood there and like took a picture every time Zach changed something on this little piece of wood here.
Yeah, and we actually have a bunch of behind the scenes, like sort of photos and videos that when we switch back to my screen after this, we can kind of go through and take a look at and kind of give you a bit more insight into the process.
Love it.
Okay, almost done here. Doesn't have to be perfect. We'll go with that. So this is the most important part of making sure all of your stop motion photos are cohesive, because obviously, first thing, this was shot with a tripod. So every photo looks exactly the same. Every photo is going to need to be rotated a little bit because we didn't change the like location of the camera when shooting. So I'm going to go ahead and Command C on my keyboard to copy the settings. And traditionally, this is what my settings would look like if I was copying it over to another photo, because I wouldn't want to copy like the local adjustments, the transform, any of the rotation, the crop, stuff like that. But in this case, since I need every photo to look as similar as possible, I'm going to check everything, because everything that I do to this photo, I want it to happen to the next photo. So that's copied over, and I'm just going to Command V, paste. And I literally am just going to do that to every single photo. This would take a long time if I showed you guys everything I did. So if we want to, Zach, do you want to show them some behind the scenes stuff while I go and copy it to all these photos? And then we can jump back and see kind of like what we're looking like and if we need to change anything up to make them more cohesive.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
So let me go ahead and switch to your screen, Zach. All right, and we're on your screen. And while we do that, we have a great question from Voodoo Val. She's asking, on that note, finding yourself creating content for a new project, does it feel odd to suddenly be working outside of the consistent branding for your Insta/website, or is it refreshing?
I think it's really refreshing because sometimes, because I've created such a cohesive brand and aesthetic for myself, I can feel a little bit like trapped into that style because I know that when clients hire me, that's what they want to see. So I honor that and I stick with what it is that I'm known for. But with a project like this, obviously it's still going to have little bits of my own creativity in it. It's still very earthy, it's still pretty warm, but I don't have to be as strict with it. So yes, it's refreshing.
Nice. Great question. Thanks, Val.
Yeah, it was
All
great.
right. So I've got some photos here. So this is the remote that we use. It's just a super basic. You click this button right here and it takes the photo. So in the past, this is actually the first project we've used this on with this particular camera. In the past, we've just, hit the shutter button on the tripod, and we've found that, there's always little bits of shaking that comes with that. So it's never the ideal situation. Fortunately, in Premiere, you can use warp stabilizer and it helps a lot, but this doing everything right in camera is always the best way to do it. So using this little remote has been super helpful. Let's see what other photos do we have. This is up on the hill actually behind our house. So we set up our little sheet here just with a really simple stand. This is our tripod. Again, it's nothing fancy, but it has the sort of head on it that can let the camera shoot in portrait. So that's super helpful. You can see, the cord dangling there. And yeah, this is just halfway through the video. I was standing down the stump.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you doing over there, Zach? Yeah, you doing some
Yeah.
production value on there? A little bit of-
Yeah, this was so we, we'll kind of go through the process a little bit more later, but we take these stumps and strip the bark off and then we sand them all down. So that was the process that we were in the middle of. So this was kind of towards the beginning of the shoot, just when we started sanding.
Yeah, because the concept for the video is for it to look like this little tree stump is like creating itself, like it's doing all the work itself. So that's why Zach had to like do a little bit and then move out of the way, and I would take a picture, and then he would come back and do more. It took us like a few hours just to film this little like 15-second clip, but
Yeah.
it's really fun.
As Zach touched up on, I mean, the more you get it right in camera, again, the easier all this post-production is going to be. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another little just like thing to talk about is this wheel we have right here. So we literally just went to Home Depot and got like a little wooden round. I think they're made for Lazy Susans, like the cabinets that spin. And we got one of the brackets for it as well that just screws right to the back so that we can actually spin this platform, which gives that cool like rotation effect. So just a really simple like $5 hack to really add a lot of value. So
Love it.
yeah, like Olivia said, basically I would stand maybe like, I don't know, 1/6 of the log or take 1/6 of the bark off, step back, we'd take the photo, and then I'd come in, rotate it on, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, whatever it is, do the next section and just kind of keep working our way down.
We have a question from the chat, and I think this is to you, Olivia. Doug is
Okay.
asking, can you select all of the photos and sync with the first edit?
Okay, so if you know this, please enlighten me. But I have tried to do that multiple times, and it only ever copies the like colors. It won't sync the like crop and rotation. And I've tried to also make that first edit, make a preset, and then apply that preset to all the other photos, and it still doesn't sync the crop and rotation. So the only way I've figured out how to do it so far is literally just going through every photo and like forward, copy, paste, forward, copy, paste. But if anyone has a more efficient way, that would definitely save me some time.
What I tend to do is, if we're in the grid view, you can, so if you're looking at the film strip at the bottom,
Yeah.
you make all your changes on one edit, and then you go to the right and select all, like shift click, and then you click that sync button, and they should carry over.
Okay. For some reason, maybe there's just like a glitch with me, or I just haven't been doing it correctly, because it'll do everything except for the like crop if I make a crop on the photo or like a rotation. I don't know why.
I think the crop and rotation stick this method, but don't quote me on that. All right, we have Abdul Rahman asking, or he's actually sent a comment. I use EOS utility for remote shooting in my Canon camera. Yep, that's kind of like the Canon
I used to use
native
that.
remote one to do it. Cool. Johnny Guy saying improvise, adapt, overcome. Great meme.
Love it.
That.
Okay. Well, Zach, whenever you are done, we can switch back over to my screen.
Cool. Yeah, this is just like a little behind the scenes video of the whole shoot. So when we started shooting, and as you'll see in Premiere, we had our monitor and we shot a little intro video first, and then we switched over to stop motion. So everything stayed in the same spot. Had all of our stuff kind of staged over here, and our dog.
Oh, who's that fur ball?
His name is
He's like
Boeing.
a labradoodle.
He's a golden
Yeah.
doodle, so very
Golden
close.
doodle. Yes. Oh,
Yeah, he's
Cool.
a good boy. He's always with us on our shoots.
I love it. All right, we're gonna switch to Olivia's screen now. So coming back now.
Okay, so I've got the preset that I put on each individual photo because I have not figured out a more efficient way, but I will try that sync method next time. So I've got the preset on every photo, and you can still tell it's a lot warmer towards the bottom of the screen because the lighting was shifting, but even though it's the same exact edit on every photo. So I'm going to start, I feel maybe like right around here, this like fourth line is where the light starts to change a little bit. And this is going to be a really tedious task, but I'm basically just going to try to match them all together. So I'm just kind of going to be flipping back and forth, seeing how the exposure is different. You can tell this photo is brighter, this photo is darker. So I'm just going to go and try to make each photo as cohesive as possible so that once I hand it over to Zach and he imports it into Premiere, is that what you're making in Premiere or After Effects?
Yeah, Premiere.
Yeah, Premiere. That's what I would usually make it in because I make a lot of these myself too. But it'll be a lot easier for him to edit it all together if the photos are cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously this isn't the case for every shoot. Sometimes it looks completely fine. The lighting doesn't change at all. Or maybe you want the lighting to change. Maybe it's a sunset shoot. That would be a cool sort of stop motion. But for this one in particular, we are going and trying to make all these photos look the same. And Zach, so I'm changing the exposure here just to match the like brightness.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to also change the white balance since the like half of the photos at the end are a lot warmer?
I think we can probably change the white balance with some keyframes in Premiere. That'll save you a little bit of time.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that should not be a problem. Nice little hack we can show.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm just gonna be doing this. I actually did this morning as well, and then undid all of my work because I sent everything over to Zach already. So I'm kind of just showing you guys like what I would do. That's probably enough of you guys watching me flip through these these images here. But if we go back to the grid view here, I'll wait for them all to kind of update themselves. You can see that this row is already a lot brighter than the row below it. I feel like maybe it could use even a little bit more. Oh my. See, this is the part of photo editing. You think you got it, and then you take a step back and you're like, no, I don't got it. I need to go do it again. So I'm just flipping through here and adding just like plus 10 of exposure to all of these. Okay, let's see if that was any better.
I would say this is very similar to kind of color correcting like we touched on a little bit yesterday, is going through each photo and just making sure everything looks the same. It's such a hard process. It takes so much time and it's so subjective.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of this work is tedious, but it's that really nitty-gritty, tedious work that can really polish these things off, right?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
It's not all just like, oh yeah, slap on a preset and do it. No, it's like you really got to finagle these things almost at like granular level. And, you know, if you put in the time, it definitely shows compared to like kind of a faster version of that workflow.
Yeah. So Zach, these are really warm. Are you sure you don't want me to tone them down at all, or you want to do it all in After Effects?
Yeah, we can do it all in here. That should be totally fine.
I won't do anything now. Okay, so let's just
We'll
say
do it in post.
let's just say
Post.
for time's sake and for everyone's sanity, we're not going to watch me try to match the exposure on all of these images, but I'll just kind of show you next what I would do. Select all of those and then export. It's already in the folder that I want it to be in, but I just typically export into like the folder that I have the raw images in, JPEGs folder, and then I name them, number them, leave all of this looking good, and then export. So in a magic world, now they're all exported, and I've airdropped them over to you, Zach.
Amazing.
Wow, does that just happen right before my eyes?
Right before your eyes. So Zach, you can take away the next step, and then I will continue drawing all the titles for you.
Perfect.
We have Abdul Rahman saying, for the white balance changes in stop motion, I fixed them by flicker-free plugin in After Effects.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great comment. How do you guys deal with flickering? I know there's a bunch of ways to do this. Again, there's so many workflows to get one thing done. There's a bunch of plugins out there. There's even time lapses programs that will kind of do that for you. How do you guys usually deal with flickering?
You know, we don't have a ton of issues with flickering usually. I'd say our biggest problem, which I guess is what always causes flickering, is, you know, clouds or the sun moving through the sky, changing a reflection or something. Especially with this shoot and living in near Portland, we have a lot of weather that's not perfect. So we get lots of clouds going by that change the exposure and everything. So a lot of times I actually do use that plugin that he referenced, the flicker-free plugin. It works pretty well. But yeah, it's usually not too huge of an issue with the way that we do it.
Right.
As you'll see, because we slow it down so you don't notice the flicker like you would in a 24 or 30 frames per second video.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, of course, you always want to try and get these things done in camera to avoid flickering, like the things Zach did. I know, unfortunately, some of the times you can't control that. Like some of the older cameras, I shoot with a 5D3. When the mirror, so it's a mirror camera, it's still got the mirror in there. So when that mirror, when the shutter fires, like it doesn't do it perfectly every time based on the shutter. So you can have very, very small flickering. I don't think that's so much of an issue with mirrorless cameras. But with an old school camera that I use, especially for time lapses, I shoot a lot of that. Sometimes, no matter what, you're just going to get a tiny bit, and you do have to do a little bit of flickering in post.
Yeah, actually, that brings up a good point. Another hack, or not even necessarily hack, but kind of trick as well, is with those cameras, when you do time lapses, it sets the aperture each time. So if you're not shooting wide open, a lot of times you can get flickers from the aperture ring in the lens not being perfectly.
Yes, sorry, the aperture ring. That's what I meant, not the shutter. The aperture ring when it closes. Yes.
Yeah, so it's close, but it's not always right. So for Fuji, our lenses actually have a manual aperture ring, and a lot of times if you buy an old lens that has that manual aperture ring as well, that helps with that problem. So I think that also helps us eliminate the flicker in our ours. Cool. All right, so I've got all of these photos here from Alivia. So I'm just gonna copy those and put them in here, and I'll replace them. All right, cool. So now we'll hop into Premiere. Just like yesterday, we'll start all the way from the ground up with a new project.
And Zach, I feel like make sure you touch on when you're creating your sequence, like what you do to make it vertical, because people ask me a lot, like, do you just put like a vertical video into like just like a normal, like whatever the aspect ratio is normally? I'm like, no, definitely not.
Yeah, we don't want the bars on the side.
Yeah, the black bars.
Yeah. All right, so again, we'll start our new project. Whenever I'm doing work with Alivia, I always start my file names with AF for Olivia Fields. That way I know if it's for her, if it's something I'm doing personally or just unrelated. Helps sort everything
I am
really
special.
Well. Yeah, it helps sort everything really well in our file system. So we'll call this log stop motion. We'll just call it 2 for now, since we already had 1. And all of those settings are perfectly fine as they are. Okay.
Cool. We have a quick question from the chat.
Yeah.
Edwin is asking, do you use a gray card when shooting?
We do not. I have maybe once in the past, but we don't use that now. All right. Cool. So we've got our project here. It's all set from scratch. And let's, like Olivia was saying, let's start with making our sequence so we can kind of go over how we do that for vertical. So again, I usually have a preset or a custom layout that I have, but we'll just walk through it from the beginning. So we'll go to our settings and we'll make it custom. We are going to work in 24 frames per second as usual. And for this particular one, we're going to make it for Instagram. So we don't need the full 4K resolution. That's just overkill because Instagram's going to scale it down and compress it and make it look not great. So we're going to do 1080 for the horizontal width. And then we're going to do, I believe it's 13.
Wait, no, that's for like the Instagram feed. But if you're making it for like Instagram Reels or Instagram TV, it's the full.
Yeah, but this would be for the feed because it's going to be the 1 minute video. And then we'll make the
Gotcha.
reel, we'll make it into a reel at the very end. So for,
Gotcha.
yeah, like she said, for the feed, everything is 4:5 ratio. So that works out to be 1080 by 1350. If it was for the stories or a reel, it would be 1920. So basically just 1080p rotated on its side. Square pixels, progressive, 2397. All right, all that looks good, and we'll just give our sequence a name. We'll call this a vlog stop motion main, because this is going to be our main sequence. And kind of touching on making the presets, if this is something that you do a lot, you can go ahead and save all of this into a preset, which is super handy. So we can call this Instagram feed vertical. And then now you'll see in our sequence presets, it'll show up down here in custom. Cool. So now we've got our sequence here, and we're ready to bring in all of our assets. So again, we did shoot some like just actual video that we'll compile into this, because we're going to kind of make this into 2 videos in the end. One that's like a longer 1-minute video for Olivia's Instagram feed. And then we'll also have that 15-second reel that we will create from a small portion of this. So let's bring in all of our footage. Again, it's as easy as dragging and dropping. We've also got some audio. So we had some talking to the camera in this clip, which we didn't have yesterday. Yesterday was just music driven. So we've got those 2 audio files there. So we'll bring that in as well. And we'll work with the photos in a little bit. That should be everything. Okay. So now to get started in our sequence, we're gonna start with the footage just like we did yesterday. So we'll go through and we'll look at all of our different footage. So for instance, I know just this is Olivia talking to the camera. So it's a really long clip because I forgot to hit stop before we recorded it. So I'll just kind of scrub through it. We're getting her mic'd up, and then she'll start talking right about here. So we'll listen, and we'll set our endpoint. Again, we can use the eye on our keyboard or use this little feature right here.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the forest behind our house.
And you'll notice, obviously we shot this vertical, but the camera doesn't know that. So everything looks sideways, which once we get all the footage in, we'll rotate it in our timeline and we'll make it look how it's supposed to. But let's just kind of listen through and we'll cut through some of this footage.
So a lot of people have learned a lot of things during this time at home. A lot of people have done it. Down, we said, hey, can we have your tree? They said yes. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can.
Okay, so that's good for that clip. So that's going to be how we're going to open up the video here. And I actually have to make a couple changes. So with our monitor, it kind of records audio a little bit differently. It can have multiple channels of input. So Premiere has a super handy feature called audio channels or interpreting footage. They're all kind of in the same menu. So we're going to click on audio channels here, and you'll see it has 4 different lines of audio. So we know we didn't record in mono, it's stereo, and there's only supposed to be 1 channel that we're working with because we didn't record multi-channel. And for our monitor in particular, left is on 3 and right is on 4. So anyway, if you have a monitor or something, this is a really super easy way to interpret your footage and make it exactly how you want so that it doesn't drag in all of those layers of audio like it was trying to.
Yeah, that's a very great tip. I remember when I was first starting out editing footage from some higher end cameras, like I think Reds have like 8 channels or 6 channels, and you'll drag in a clip and you're like, why do I have 6 tracks? I just want 1. And of course the solution is what Zach just showed. So that's a very great pro tip. Thanks for showing that.
Of course. Yeah, that definitely was something that I was very confused about in the beginning. So super handy. So we'll go ahead and drag that clip in that we just cut, which was this one. And you'll see, again, we get this error. We want to keep the existing settings. I know it's a 4K footage, but that's not what we're trying to edit with. So now you'll see it does this weird crop, which again, we will deal with once we get all of the footage in because we can copy and paste the settings. So now we have our just single track of audio there, and we can start going through everything else. So let's see, let's start at the beginning. So kind of the workflow of this video, I suppose I can show you based on the final. We've got Olivia talking here in the beginning, all of these clips, then our actual stop motion, which we'll make. And then we've got just a bunch of B-roll shots of these logs that we've made in different settings around our house. to kind of, I guess, promote what we're selling. So again, you can see I'd previously changed that color to help label it better, knowing it as B-roll. So we'll start going through the B-roll here. Find a nice little clip right there. And we'll mark the endpoint. And kind of drag through it there. And I'm going to go through a few clips here. We've got, as you can see, this is obviously a different log. So we had 4 different logs that we were working with, but we're going to highlight all of them. So,
Look at that polish. Looks so
right?
fresh.
Isn't it? Who knew? Pilot, video editor, woodworker. What else can you do, Zach?
Literally, jack of all trades.
Lighting design. Yeah, lots of fun stuff.
So for those of you who just are tuning in, I just want to give a quick recap on where we are right now. So we're working on an Instagram-based video, and this is for Zach and Olivia's new, somewhat secret venture of this new business that they want to sell stumps, because look how pretty these are. So we're going through the motion of actually editing this pilot video where they're going to announce that they're going to be doing this. And in the meantime, Olivia, I see you on an iPad. So what is it that you're working on over there?
We made a few already, like little titles to show kind of the steps of like what we did to like create these little wooden stumps. And I sent those over to Zach this morning, but now I just realized we don't really have like an opening little like title for the video. So that is what I am working on right now. I'm just drawing out a title, and then I'm gonna send it over to Zach so he can import it into like the beginning of the video.
Yeah, so we'll be seeing those assets soon. And again, this is all live. The fact that they're doing this collaborative workflow and being each other's sort of directors is great.
Yeah, it's
They're
super
really seeing
fun.
it in action.
And AirDrop is so helpful for creating content on iPads. It's just right there. You don't have to email it. You don't have to find anything crazy. It just shows right up, and you can organize it.
It's a great perk.
Mm-hmm.
We have Val saying, love that little ice cream, just chilling.
All right, let me show you guys one more little behind the scenes footage that I didn't show you before, because this is also very important. We shot all this stuff on the slider, but typically sliders, you're shooting horizontal. So we kind of like jerry-rigged this little shoulder rig to work with our slider. So you can also use an L bracket, which we actually just ordered because we hadn't really run into this issue before, because we usually just shoot on tripod. But we had a shoulder rig, a rail system for the camera, and we just had a little angle 90-degree piece that we screwed it onto the slider there with, and it worked super well. It was super smooth. And again, you can see our monitor here with the HDMI out of the camera to get that nice flat footage that we had talked about yesterday.
That's awesome. I swear, just all these video accessories and toys are just like kind of like a Lego puzzle.
Oh my gosh.
Like there's just so many things. You can literally just build any crazy rig that you want with the video tools that you have, assuming you have the right pieces, and finding the right pieces and knowing what that is. I mean, that's a job in itself, but I love it. It reminds me of Johnny's comment he had earlier. It's like improvise, adapt, overcome.
Yes.
Right? Like you can make these things work, and all the tools are out there to build whatever Frankenstein rig you want with video.
It's so true. I think the shoulder rig rail system was probably the first piece of like gear that I bought when I started doing video when I was a lot younger, and it's seen so many different configurations for mounting a monitor to it, to like having a nice little gorilla like just hand shooting, and then now like we just showed, putting it on the slider or mounting it on the Ronin to do vertical. It's awesome. It's super.
Yeah, I started venturing into that. I got a small rig, cage for my camera, and then I put a monitor on it, and then you want to put other things, so you got to buy other parts, and before you know, you have all these accessories. So it's fun, but you could definitely go down like a nonstop purchase path. Chat, let us know if you have any video production gear. Do you use cages? Why or why not? Do you use sliders? Let us know what you all are working with out there.
Totally. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in so that you don't, again, get bored of all that stuff. And let's go through all of the cold footage that I already have. So you can see everything's all edited and cut here. And I've got I've got all my B-roll again marked as orange or mango, I believe is the color that it's used, just so that I know, this is a B-roll. And again, it looks really bad here because it's not rotated yet. Let's go ahead and mute that audio because we don't need that. Yeah, so I've got all of that dragged in there. And then I've got our first clip here dragged in as well. So there's a couple of things that we need to do now. So we've dragged in this audio, which was recorded on a H4n with a little lapel mic there. And we don't actually want the audio that was recorded from the camera because it's never as high of quality. So one thing we're gonna do, again, I actually need to interpret this footage just like we were talking about because it only recorded it mono because it was just one microphone on one channel. So we'll go into our audio settings here, set it as mono, and then say just the left channel. Drag it in, and now you'll see it's just one channel, and that way it plays in both headphones instead of just one. Okay, and then we're also gonna take a look at how we're gonna import those photos because we don't have those in our timeline just yet. So we're gonna go to import here in Premiere instead of dragging and dropping. And we're gonna look for our finished photos. So these are the photos that Olivia just sent over to us. And I'm gonna pick the first one. And what I'm gonna do then is go down to options and make sure that image sequence is selected. So this is also how you would make a time lapse. It's pretty much the exact same workflow because it's just a group of photos. So we'll go ahead and click on import and you'll notice it'll pick all of the photos and bring them in. So I only had to select the first one, but it knows, this is all the photos. All right.
In the meantime, we have Johnny going back to that earlier question in terms of having your own gear. He improvises. He doesn't have a slider, but he uses a skateboard that works quite well.
Love that.
That'll
I've definitely done that before.
It'll get the job done. I'm interested, Johnny. Do you get a lot of vibrations using that skateboard? Do you see yourself using a little bit of warp stabilizer in post, or does it just work well right off the bat? Let us know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love improvising, especially when you're starting out and you don't have, the money to buy a lot of expensive things. Even when you do, it's still nice to not have to spend it and be able to use what you have.
Yeah, I think you touch up on a good point, Zach. I think if you're just starting out, you don't need all the fancy toys, right?
Absolutely.
You're not there yet. I would say just get familiar with video production, get familiar with just the basics of it. And the more you start getting into it, then you start realizing what you need. And then you can kind of make more like experience-based purchases. But kind of like Johnny's doing, that's a great way to just start and getting those shots without having to get all those expensive toys.
Yeah, I think one of the principles that Olivia and I like to use is we won't buy gear until we have a project that specifically needs it. Like, 'cause there's always all these things like, oh, I want a jib, or oh, I want a, a slider or something. But just because you have it, like, it's not always a wise purchase unless you have a specific need for it. So it's really easy to spend a lot of money on stuff. I'm definitely very bad at that.
That's a great principle to go off of.
Cool. All right, so now we've got all of our audio and all of our clips and everything dragged into the timeline. So I'm going to show you one of my it's not a new feature, but it's newer since I started in Premiere, of how to sync to audio clips. Now, previously, back in the day, you had to have a third-party program that would go in and sync everything, and it was awesome. Or you would just do it manually based on, making markers or just aligning the clips until everything sounded right. But in Premiere, if you select both clips, you can go to synchronize and you say, I want to synchronize it based on the audio, and Premiere will go through, process the clips and line them up just like that. So now you can see, let me just go ahead and scale this down so that it makes sense.
Yeah, this is a great feature. I remember having to do this manually, looking at those clap sounds, looking at the waveforms and just nudging it, but this cuts a lot of time.
This is a lifesaver. And now we can see when we play this
A
back.
lot of people have become master chefs. We got into woodworking.
Everything lines up perfectly. So that is super handy. And then we can go ahead and just trim these to match. And now we're all set. All right. So those are all lined up. So now I'm going to take you through the next piece of the puzzle, and that is making our background audio sound and be the length that we want. So that's definitely something we didn't have to worry about a lot yesterday because our background audio, the track was just the perfect length for the video. But since we're making an Instagram video, we know that our limit for the video is 1 minute, because that's all Instagram will allow, unless you're doing Instagram TV, which is a whole nother thing. We want to keep it 1 minute so that it just shows up nicely in everybody's feed. They don't have to go searching for it elsewhere. So again, we're going to keep all the audio that we're using on track 2, and then we'll keep track 1 muted because that's just audio that comes straight off our clips. We don't want that. We don't care about that. Okay. So now let's look at this soundtrack, and we'll kind of just give it a little listen through and see how we think we can break it up, because it's currently 4 minutes. And again, we need to cut it down to about 1 minute. So we'll listen to it.
It just sounds like a woodworking song to me. Like, I just love it so much.
And as you can see, I already have some markers in here, but I'll kind of tell you guys how I placed them initially. So you can kind of see like the different sections of the song just by looking at the waveform. We can see that there's a pretty definitive start here, and a break here, and then the lower break here, and kind of the last little section of the song here. So initially what I was thinking is I was like, okay, I think I can work with this, because I like to take the beginning of a song and the end of the song because they're naturally made to sound correct. So I'm going to look at this last little section here, and I'm going to go and I'm going to make my marker, just kind of tab through it. And then when I hear that hit, I'm going to put the marker. So we've got one here for this section, and you'll see it also shows us down in our timeline. And that'll just help kind of line us up so that when we cut the clip, it'll snap to where that marker is, and we don't have to do this process in the timeline.
Awesome. And how are you setting those markers, Zach?
Yeah, so the way I set markers is with the M key on the keyboard. It's just super easy. You hit it, and it puts a little green marker right there.
And for marker, pretty easy.
Exactly. Most of the keyboard shortcuts make a whole lot of sense. I think you can also right-click and add a marker if you rather do it that way, but I always am a keyboard shortcut kind of guy. Absolutely.
We have Johnny real quick. We're back to the vibrations on his skateboard. Again, this is great. This is great tips on how to improvise. He cut sponge around the wheels to dampen the vibration.
Wow.
Johnny, you're truly improvising, adapting,
That is,
and overcoming.
That's
I'm
impressive.
thinking of make a business out of that. Start selling spongy skateboards.
There you go.
Spongy skateboard wheel attachments. Yeah. Look at that. We're doing like an entrepreneurial stream too.
This
Here
is
we are learning how to
fantastic.
do pilot videos for woodworking.
Yes. Give us your entrepreneurial ideas.
That's awesome.
Love it.
All right. So back to this. So I like this little section of the song right here. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to cut this and say, okay, I'm going to use this little piece of the sound for the video. And I can see already that that piece is exactly 1 minute, but I don't really think I like how it starts off. So let's just give that a listen. And it just kind of like hits you in the face. So
Ow.
not super keen on that. So I'm going to take from the very beginning of this clip, and I'm going to see what we're working with. So it kind of starts off a little slower, builds in. Okay, that sounds good. So I can see right here is we're kind of where the next break is. So I'm going to put that marker that you can already see right here. This is where kind of that next hit is. So if I take these and I go ahead and cut this clip on that marker, then I can butt these two up together and keep the beat similar so that it should transition nicely. So let's just give this a little listen. We'll put a little crossfade on just to help us out. Just make it half a second. And let's give that a listen. That transitioned really smoothly.
Much better.
And that sounds great, but the problem is still it's 1 minute and 40 seconds. So I'll just kind of save you the bore of this. I went through and found a couple more breaks on the main beats and just cut it down a little bit. So I'm gonna take this little end section and I'm gonna just butt it right, not on that one, but it right here on this beat. Again, it was doing what we just did, but I just did it beforehand. Oops. And then we'll put that little crossfade on it again, and we'll just make it half a second. And now let's give this a listen. So it's
Yeah,
not.
that's a good transition.
Yeah,
It's getting there.
It's getting there. It's pretty close. It's not perfect. You can kind of go in and tweak, one frame either way until you get that to hit just right. But for now, we'll just leave it like that because I've already got it cut here. And we'll just go through the last couple of things before we get into making the clips look a little prettier. So I'm just going to delete that out. And let's take a look at the stop motion. So this came in, and we'll go ahead and scale it down quite a bit so that it fits our frame a little bit better. Sure, 28, that looks good. And if we watch through it now, it's going to play back at 24 frames per second, and it's going to just be really fast and not really give us the look we're going for. Still looks, kind of cool, but not that fun, choppy stop motion vibe. So to change that, all we got to do is right click on it and go to speed/duration, and we can change anything we want. We can either type in, we want it to play back at 25%, we want the duration to be 30 seconds, whatever we want it to be, and Premiere will intuitively slow it down. So let's just do 25%, and let's give that a watch through, and that should give us that choppy look we're going for.
I like it.
Yeah, that looks a little
Might be
better.
a little fast, but
Yeah, might be.
I like it.
Maybe we can take it down to 15.
Speaking of that shortcut life, I think the shortcut for that, Zach, is Command R.
Okay.
To get the speed up, if you click on the clip. Aha,
Yeah,
there it
you
is.
are
Yeah.
correct.
Nice.
I use that
Another-
one a lot. I use that shortcut.
That's
So
awesome.
Command R for the speed duration. It's a good
And
one.
going off of that too, if you just hit R, I believe it is. Yeah, it does sort of something similar, but you can actually drag the clip and it'll automatically
Whoa.
change it. So that
That's a
I
new
definitely, yeah, I use that one a lot too. Because if I say I have, a certain section that I want, but I want this whole clip, I'll drag the clip there and use that R tool to make it exactly the length that I want, and then it'll automatically,
I love it. Then you can
change.
visually see instead of guessing the percentage of the duration.
Exactly. So it's
That's a
again
good one.
totally
Thanks.
preference.
You just taught
but-
me something.
Yeah, there's so many little tricks in Premiere. There's always more to learn.
Oh yeah.
Cool. So yeah, we'll just leave it at 15%. We'll say that's good, and we'll jump into or actually no, we have one more thing to cut. We have to cut the voice, the part of Olivia talking. So this is definitely a super subjective piece because we've got to cut out quite a lot. As you can see, it's like a little over a minute, I think. Come on.
And I talk a lot, so that's always the problem I give to Zach is I talk way too much and leave him having to cut out a lot.
Never ending
Yeah.
content.
So her talking was just about a minute, but obviously if she's giving an intro for the whole video, that doesn't really help anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and solo this audio because I don't want to hear it with the background track. I just want to kind of hear what she has to say, and we will go ahead and see how all of this sounds.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the forest behind our house. So a lot of people have learned a lot of things during this time at home. A lot of people have done TikTok dances. A lot of people have become master chefs. We got into woodworking. So I have a stump, and then we'll show the picture of the stump right there. A lot of people ask
Me
me,
just
"Where'd you get
creative
this? Where'd you
directing
buy
over
this?
here."
Where can I get it?" And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard, which is the truth.
So let's kind of cut it right there because I know that happens to be a good spot in this video. And she kind of was going on a little bit in the beginning
So
about
a lot of people have learned a lot of things.
all of the things that we've learned in quarantine, and I think that piece is probably going to be a good one to cut out because it's funny, but it's not necessarily directly related to the video, and we probably want this to cut down to about 20 seconds. So
To the forest behind our house.
we'll give it a cut right there.
So so I have a stump.
So we'll
Um
cut out that And again, looking at the waveforms, if you zoom in, it's the plus on your keyboard, zoom out is the minus. C for the cutting tool, we'll just kind of cut that out. And we've got to also cut the audio below it. And you can link that. But I'm just going to show you it this way. We will drag that there and let's see.
Behind our house. So I have a stump, and then we'll show the picture of the stump right there.
Okay, so we'll cut that because we don't want to hear her saying that. We could, it's kind of funny, but
don't.
we'll just go ahead and delete that part of the audio. And we probably only need a couple of seconds of that. And then we'll drag that down.
All right, Zach, I finished the drawing for the title.
Amazing.
I'm going to airdrop it to you if I can, but if not, I will text it to you.
Go ahead
Or
and
email
it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a transparent PNG, so.
All right. So while we wait for that, we'll keep editing here.
People
Let's just
ask me,
listen.
where'd you get this? Where'd you buy this? Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard.
Okay, that seems like a good spot to stop as well.
Oh, wait, just kidding. I need to change something else on it.
So we found a family friend who had a tree that was cut down. We said, hey, can we have your tree? They said yes. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps. Yeah. So
I'm also going to cut out that little story too, because again, it's just not super relevant. And this is all kind of boring, like down to everybody's own personal opinion of what they think, everything needs to look like and sound like, what they think is important. But let's just give this a listen.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the forest behind our house. So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me, where'd you get this? Where'd you buy this? Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can.
All right, I can see.
Do
that there's
we
a
know
little
what
pause
type of
there.
tree do you guys have?
Man,
Like
they're
a
all.
specific type of tree.
I think the one we made in this video is cottonwood, which honestly
Yeah.
is not that pretty of a kind of wood. But it was just the tree that they had, so we're like, yeah, we'll see what we can do with it. Some of them are. One of them is pine that we'll show in the BTS footage or in the B-roll footage. And I don't know, Olivia, do you know what your original one is? That kind of sparked our inspiration?
Nope, I'm looking at it right now. And no, looking at it, it looks like pine. Because
Yeah,
we have a lot of pine in our house and it looks like pine.
Nice.
It could be Doug fir, but.
It's from Florida, so probably not that.
No, this is from California.
Oh, that's right.
This is from when I lived there. Yeah, if it was from Florida, it'd probably be a palm tree.
Or just a bunch
gonna
of
show you how-
Spanish moss.
Yeah.
How we make them, and then you can get them. And great, that
Okay, so
you can get them.
we're going to stop it right there. Yeah, I think that sounds pretty good. We may have some more fine tuning, but we'll just call that good for now. And then we're going to go ahead and drag in our stop motion. So we'll go from
And then you can get them.
Of course, let's unscroll this. Cool. So that looks good. So one thing that I've noticed is there's quite a volume difference between this background track and our talking track. So let's jump into the essential sound panel here. And we did this a little bit yesterday, but we'll do it one more time today. So we're going to select our background track and we're going to click music. Okay, and we're going to auto match the loudness. And that's really all there is to it for doing the background audio. And then we're going to select our dialogue. Set that as dialogue. We'll also auto match it so that the levels sound nice. And we'll give it a little bit of an EQ. There's some solid presets in here, so we'll just do a female boost and enhance the speech.
I'm just
Okay.
still amazed on how much easier that makes things.
It's
I mean, I come from the
helpful.
auto or the ducking days, like the manual ducking.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Or just hitting those bracket keys to try and get consistent audio, but just with the click of a button.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it takes, folks.
It's amazing.
So it makes your life easier, but you still bill for the same hours. You know?
Exactly.
They don't know how easy it is.
So again, kind of like he was talking about, this has the auto ducking feature. So we'll pick that background audio right here when she's talking, and you can change or say how much you want it to duck. Usually 18's pretty good, but I'm actually going to do 12 because I think that is going to sound good. Again, we'll listen to it and see. And all you got to do is generate the keyframes. And it should do it all for us.
Greetings, my
saying,
friends.
Oh, sorry. Vudaval saying, I like the pinwheel arms. She goes, I'm quotations.
Thank you.
We're gonna make them flails, and then you can get them.
Oh my gosh. I
Classic
love
Olivia.
talking with my hands. It's a
It's
blessing
very
and a
natural.
curse.
I mean, I think you got to use some hands, right? If you're just kind of there. both
It's
arms
awkward if
down.
not.
Yeah, not a lot of energy. I'm with you. I'm an arm talker as well.
I'm glad that I'm not alone.
All
Okay,
right,
Zach, I
ahead.
redid it and now I'm emailing you another one. So disregard the first email. Open the second one instead.
Cool. Actually, go ahead and text it to me. I think that's probably going to be the easiest. We're just a little bit too far away to airdrop right now. So
I know.
that's why we're not doing airdrop, even though we were plugging it earlier.
You know, I'm at the top of the stairs. He's in the office. There's one whole guest room in between us.
All right, so let's go ahead and give this a listen and just see, make sure that the ducking all sounds good.
Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the forest behind our house. So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me, where'd you get this? Where'd you buy this? Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can. We're gonna show you how we make them, and then you can get them.
Wow, I really did do that.
I love it.
Look at that little stump twirl.
So good. Now, I don't know if you're gonna get into this, Zach. I don't know much about woodworking, but it seems like you had some sort of compound on the tree that makes it pop, so to say.
We did, yeah. We won't really get too much into it. Maybe that's something we would like put in the description of the video. We've got some titles that we're going to put over it. So we just, it was basically just like a polyurethane finish from Sherwin-Williams. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just picked whatever sounded good on the shelf.
Yeah, just looking at that video again, I caught that. I'm like, oh, you actually added something once you shaved it down. It looks so good.
Yeah, it definitely helps the color pop on it. And you can kind of see too in this wood, there's all these like black lines. This is the first stump that we had that had this. There was like termites or worms or something that must have been living in the wood because it's got these like gnarly, like bug trenches or something weird in it. So
I think it looks cool.
It does look cool. Yeah, it was
No,
unexpected.
awesome.
It was the first one we found like that. We were shooting this video and I was like, oh, we got an interesting piece of wood that we decided to go with. So
Zach, did you get the transparent? Yeah.
Oh, yes, I see. It came from myself. That looks very good. Cool. All right, I will go ahead and we'll integrate that in a little bit. So now we've got to cut in our B-roll because we're kind of going to do some glamour shots at the end of the video. So we've got our 4 stumps here. We'll kind of cut these in. And I'm going to look at them and just make sure. Oh, okay. Yeah, one thing we got to do to all of these. So we need to obviously scale this down to about 50%. And we're going to rotate it so that it shows up vertically. And I think 50 is the magic number. Yes, it is. So now we've got everything properly oriented. I'm going to go ahead and click on motion up here in the effects controls. I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to select all of the other clips and hit paste. And it should paste all of our specs onto it. So now all of these videos are appropriately oriented. I don't think I did it for those either, so we'll put it there. All right. So let's start with the stump that we showed in the time lapse, which happens to be this one. And we'll just
Johnny says it's all coming together very well.
Thank
I
you.
agree.
Thanks,
It's
Johnny.
looking super good.
Yeah, these little short videos, they work pretty well. They come together really fast and they're really fun to make. So yeah, we almost have it cut, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper into the coloring on this one than we did yesterday, and we'll just make it all look real nice and smooth. Okay, So let's kind of cut some of this in. Let's see what we're working with. So I want our, let's see, I like this shot of it zooming out. I don't like the one of it pushing in. So I'm just going to stick with 3 shots for each piece of wood just to kind of keep it consistent. So we'll start with this as our opening shot. And again, remember how I was talking about how this is 4x5, but we shot it in 16 by, I believe actually 16 by 10. So if we have a lot of play to kind of move it up or down. So let's kind of move it to frame it a little bit better. And then we'll just listen to the music and kind of cut it to the music.
That's a great shot. I love that one.
Thank you. The slider really did work for us. It was a great investment. So we're really only just going to use a tiny little bit of B-roll of each of these shots, and we're just going to cut through them really quick.
Yeah, because you're already at 44 seconds.
And then maybe we'll at the end put some effects, like maybe some light leaks or something to kind of just make it pop a little bit. Then we kind of hear the beat there. Another really great tool that I like is the Y shortcut on the keyboard. It's this guy right here, the slip tool. And you can click on this and it'll show you your new in and out, and you can kind of drag to the left or the right. And basically that just changes your in and out points. So if you wanted like a little bit further in the video, you can do that instead of having to go and drag it out and then cut it and then move it over. So let's just see how that looks. Okay, that's pretty much the spot that I want.
You stopped it exactly at the spot I was thinking of.
And then we'll just kind of mess with that. Again, this slip tool is probably one of my most used tools aside from the basic ones.
Yep, that's a big one.
And then we'll go
That
ahead.
is Y, I think, right?
It is,
Back
correct,
to the
yes.
shortcut game. Yeah.
It's just second nature to which keys to hit. I never even
Yeah.
think about what the letters are.
That one, and I use the ripple delete tool a lot as well.
I use that quite
Nice.
often.
That's a good one.
So this stump right here, this is the one that is actually the original that started everything. So this is the one from Olivia's front yard.
This is where I'm sitting right now.
It's the OG.
Yes, he's sitting in this chair right now on our landing. So let's cut this one in next.
Oh, you're sitting on the stump right now.
I'm sitting on the chair. The stump is right here next to me.
I was gonna say, it's got many uses.
I used to use it as a little chair when I was a kid.
Okay, so again, there's 4 clips that we shot, but I like to kind of keep everything in 3s. It just is a nice, keep it consistent. So let's pick 3 shots that we like. I think these 2 are kind of redundant here. They just are the same thing, but going opposite ways. So I'm going to just nix that last one. And then let's go ahead and just start cutting this again.
My gosh, there's a deer outside our window right now. That's beautiful. Continue.
Oh, yeah.
There's a little deer hopping through the forest.
It's actually right where we shot the videos where it's standing.
Yeah.
So we shot it at
Do you
the
live
right
kind
time.
of in a secluded area in Portland, or do you, like, is your neighbor super
We're, like-
far away? Or-
We live
No.
like a half hour from the city of Portland. So we live like in a suburb, but we just have this like really awesome little like street with just 5 houses on it. And it
so
literally just
cool.
backs up to a forest. So
Yeah.
our like whole backyard is just like forest, which is
Just have
awesome.
wildlife prancing around. No big
It's
deal.
literally, it's prancing. It's so cute.
Yeah, we're right on the edge of the city is called Happy Valley. So it's just outside of Portland. And we're just literally right on the edge of it, right on the edge of the development. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of wildlife.
I love it. That's awesome.
So we've got kind of a little beat here. So we'll cut these really short. And I think we're only going to have time to showcase 3 logs. So I think I'm going to nix this one because I'm not
No, that's my favorite one.
I'm not quite as in love with it. Actually, maybe we'll keep this one in and we'll get rid of this whitewashed one. So the story behind this log is actually kind of funny. We got like a coating for it, and we don't like, we're definitely not proficient in woodworking. We literally like just know how to sand wood. Like we're not great at anything. And so I went to Home Depot and was like, oh, I just need some sort of like weather sealer. And I got one that said it was clear, and it, when we brushed it on, literally turned it like 100% saturation yellow. And I was,
What?
it literally looked like mango, like the color of this clip.
Is that the one we're
And-
seeing in front of us right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, what on earth? Like, this log is ruined. And so we just took white paint and we painted it all white and then took some sandpaper to it to kind of give this like washed, like whitewashed effect. And
I think it looks neat.
It's
That's a
really
great-
cool.
Yeah, that's a great workaround. I mean,
Yeah,
that kind of
Improvise.
looks like, yeah, improvise,
Exactly.
adapt, overcome.
Yes.
exactly. Yeah,
we have Val saying the deer's like, yo, just showing up for your support on Adobe Live.
Thank you,
That's
little
awesome.
Got some
deer.
fans outside. It's like a live studio. you
Yeah,
know?
little
Exactly, like
Bambi
Good
out
Morning
there.
America. Cool. All right, so let's cut this last one in and then we'll jump into the next comp and we'll start doing some coloring.
Cool.
Okay, so we've got that like done, done, done. So we'll get these nice tight shots in and then we'll have the slider shot. Again, I'm just kind of looking at the waveforms and we'll nail it down afterwards. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's just slide this one up again. We're gonna cheat it a little bit.
You guys are basically getting like a tour of our house with this video too.
True. Yeah, the house tour is not out yet, but you get to see all the different rooms, how we styled these logs.
It's the sneak peek.
So I just right clicked here and apply default transitions. So let's just give it like a 1 second fade. And then the audio already naturally fades out, but I cut it down a little bit. So we'll just give it a little bit of help cutting it out. All right, and then I always like to go 1 frame beyond black and then set the out point of the video. Again, it's the same way we set it up here in the source viewer. We just hit the O key to mark the out. And the reason for doing that is if you have any extra clips like our extra B-roll or any other footage that you have saved just like sitting in your timeline, when you render it, if you don't set the ins and the out points, it's going to render with a bunch of black space in between and then all your random other videos, which I definitely have done before and been confused why it's taking like 6 hours to render a video. So yeah, that's it. That's the cut. So now we can go ahead and jump in and start doing.
We haven't added any of the titles yet, right?
Correct. Yeah, we have
Yeah.
not. Okay. So let's see. This needs a little bit of help. Copy this guy over here. Okay. Now let's watch this through. So this version is the version that I cut last night. So it's pretty darn close, but somehow last night I was able to fit all 4 logs in here. So let's just watch this through and see what we're working with.
Greetings, my friends. So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me, where did you get this? Where did you buy this? Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard, which is the truth. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can. We're gonna show you how we make them, and then you can get them.
So this is where we'll put the titles with the different steps of like what you were doing.
Correct.
You can't really tell the like exposure changes that much. So
No, it
I
looks
guess we
really
did a
good.
good job.
I totally forgot that was a thing. Couldn't even
Right?
notice it.
Great. Wait, you had all of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. For some reason, I found extra room last night when I was cutting this.
No,
But
I mean the whitewashed ones were in that.
I know this is the sequence that I cut last night. So just the
Gotcha.
kind of like pre-canned one. Okay, so one thing I did here is that's cool about working with 4K and then converting it down to Instagram is we're basically shooting, or our project is basically in 1080p. So we can scale up a clip and zoom in for that kind of like tight effect for when she's making that joke. And we're still only, at 85%. So we're not losing any quality when we do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great jump cut to really emphasize that. And now
Yes,
you
those
can.
are so good.
That's a good one.
So we're also going to bring in that photo for this little section right here
A lot of people
when she's referencing her photo. So I believe that is this reference photo right here. Again, we'll just drag that in on top of our composition. And of course, super high resolution, we're going to have to scale it down. So we'll just leave it right around there, trim it down. Let's see how that
I have a
looks.
stump.
So maybe start it a little bit later.
So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me, where'd you get?
Cool. All right, so now we've got our cut sequence that we're working with. So let's jump into some coloring.
Yay.
So this
Where
is
it all comes to life.
right. Yeah, because obviously this shot's not looking too hot right now. So we'll make a new
Hey.
adjustment layer. No offense. And we'll drag that adjustment layer in. We'll make it cover the whole sequence. And what we talked about yesterday a little bit, we're going to want to make this particular like stop motion piece. We're going to want to drag it above the stop motion or above the adjustment layer because it's already colored. Olivia already edited it. So we don't want the adjustment layer to affect that. So we'll go in our adjustment layer and we'll go to our Lumetri color panel and we'll go ahead and pick our input LUT. Again, this camera, just to kind of give a recap for anybody that wasn't here, we shoot in F-Log. So that's a really flat color profile on the camera. And the LUT, it is like a Rec 709, I believe is what it's called. It basically makes that flat footage come to life. It gives it the contrast and the color that it's supposed to kind of conform to the standard. So as you'll see, this footage is super dark, but maybe one of these is a better example. So this is with the LUT and this is without it. So this is what we get out of the camera, record to the monitor. It gives us a much higher amount of video, like picture color data, so that we can edit everything better. So we put the LUT on it to kind of get us back to our baseline of what it should look like out of the camera. And then we can come and we'll do all of our other effects.
Nice.
All right. So obviously, first of all, this needs some exposure help for sure.
Just like those pictures from the time lapse.
Yeah, it's not
It needs warmth and light.
right.
As we found out, Olivia does not like blue, so
No.
just scratch all the blues out. Make it warm.
So we're going to definitely warm it up quite a bit. And it already looks a ton better just with some exposure and warmth. And this is going to kind of be our reference right here, this photo, because this is already colored. It has her preset on it directly from Lightroom. So we want to make everything kind of look like this. So I'd say those look pretty close. This might need a little bit on the curves, maybe just like raise the shadows ever so slightly.
You got to put those points first, though.
Right.
Thank you.
So just raising the shadows. Maybe again, we'll do it here too, just to kind of give it a little bit of a boost.
And then the highlights are looking a little bright. If you can tone those down ever so slightly. Perfect. Thank you. And then maybe on the HSL, if you could raise the saturation of like yellow and orange a little bit.
Yeah. So again, quick kind of run through of this since we went through it a little bit more yesterday, but let's go a bit more in depth. It looks, if you're familiar with Lightroom, using Lumetri color is going to be super easy. The only difference is these curves, instead of having all the sliders like Olivia showed in Lightroom, it's very graphic. So you've got to put your points on it for what you want. So I always like to go through and do a red, an orange, yellow, kind of hit all of the different colors and put my points there. Even if we don't ever change them, I just like to have them there. And it's really hard to do that without adjusting.
But actually nudging it up, yeah.
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 That's...
Okay, so we've got all of our points there. And so she said she wanted to make the oranges a little bit more saturated and maybe the yellows. I'm going to put another point there just so that we don't start changing the greens at all, because we definitely don't want the greens more saturated. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And again, instead of the /, you can just go with these check boxes to kind of see what difference it's making. So not much. It was pretty subtle, so we'll do maybe a little bit.
That helped a little bit.
Yeah,
When you push the orange a little bit more towards the like red.
Yeah, you can definitely see ever so slightly a little bit of change there. And you can do the same thing for hue if you wanted to make, kind of like I showed yesterday, if you wanted to make orange purple. I don't know why you ever want to do that, but you can.
Just
all natural, love it.
We're done. All right,
Totally
end the video, end the live stream. Yep. All right. So I think this looks pretty good. The saturation of everything looks pretty spot on. This one's definitely a little bit more faded sort of style. So let's kind of go up here and go into this creative.
Look at that. There's a faded film slider.
All my dreams come true.
Val is saying she's really loving the positive feedback and collaboration between you two. To co-sign on that. You two work really, really well together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings,
So this already looks a whole heck of a lot better than this. So again, obviously, if we would have caught this when we were filming it, we probably would have changed our settings in the camera. I'm not really sure how we missed it, but that's, you can fix some things in post.
Yeah,
So
that's the beauty of shooting with the way that Zach and Olivia does. They're shooting logs, so you got that information to change it. You can save some of this if it wasn't shot right, as opposed to shooting in an H.264 codec that's already compressed. It's the same thing with photography, right? If you shoot JPEG,
exactly.
there's only so much you're going to be able to save a photo. But with RAW, it gives you a little more wiggle room to adjust things and actually bring a photo back to life.
Yeah. So that definitely, I mean, it's just night and day. So I think that this looks pretty good. We'll just kind of bounce back one more time. This might be like maybe a little bit blue in the shadows.
Yeah, I think I made it green.
Green.
Yeah,
How off-brand for you.
I know. Well, I was creating a new brand.
There you go. That's right.
Trees were my
New
inspiration.
business, new brand.
I would actually say that looks pretty good. It's not perfect because again, like photos have a lot more detail and it's a lot higher resolution and it's raw, but it looks good enough for what we're going to be doing today. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to our effects controls and we will copy this. And since all of these were initially one clip that we just cut, we can just paste it on all of them. And let's just kind of drag through and make sure that they look the same.
I'm a fast talker.
Cool. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Again, you can kind of see the white balance changing, but honestly, like, I think I'm fine with it.
Yeah, the videos of me talking are like slightly more tinted pink than the photos. So like, if you wanted to change it, you could, but if you don't want to.
Yeah, we can go in here into the basic correction and maybe do like, actually, let me just undo my copy from all the others so that we can paste it back. Maybe do like, that might be a little much. Actually, that looks
really good. And also,
really
can you
good.
bring the highlights down like ever so slightly more, or go into like the curves and bring them down on the top part?
Yeah, let's do it in the curves because I like it.
Wait, make the point first.
Come on.
Cool.
Maybe a little bit more like that.
Yeah.
And again, this is
That looks a
always
lot better.
the fresh eyes sort of piece to it, is it can look completely different when you come back to it or have someone else look at it. So I think that's definitely even closer.
Yeah.
So now we'll go ahead and paste that over everything.
Perfect.
And since this is playing so slow, I'm not going to worry about keyframing any sort of white balance change because I don't think it's enough to notice. So
Cool.
Now we'll hop into these last couple of pieces here. Let's just make sure we're looking good. And we're going to color all of these. And these are going to be the fun ones because these were all one clip, same lighting, same everything. So it was pretty easy. But all the different scenes and different lighting, that's going to take us a little bit of time and it'll be a little bit more fun, I guess you could say. So as you can see right off the bat, this is way more pink. So we'll just kind of drag that slider down, maybe like -5.
And
Maybe-
fun fact, Zach, you may already know this, but we could always use the comparison view to kind of have these pictures side by side.
Yeah, so
I think
believe
that's under color wheels and match. Yeah, there it is, the comparison view.
You're right.
And that way we're able to kind of look at these two side by side. But
Always
of course, this,
handy.
yeah.
And you can also use color match and apply that.
It's hit or miss, you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it gives you a good baseline to kind of work off of, but
Totally.
you still have to go in there and change some things. It gets the idea there.
It definitely it does. It helps, and it does it more with these like tinting of the highlights, shadows, and midtones, which is not personally how I like to color. You totally can. There's no right or wrong way, and I'm definitely no coloring artist. That's definitely always been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I mean, color grading and especially different footage, and I mean, it's really hard to color match exactly like something from photography to video. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
the same camp that you are. Like, I'll eyeball it, and if it looks close enough, then I think the audience is forgiving. Of course, if you're working on a huge Hollywood production, then that's a job in
Exactly.
itself. But we don't. Again, you could dive deep into this,
deep.
and at some point, you got to figure out when to say like, I'm fine with this.
Especially
It's
for
really-
Instagram, yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be compressed. Like it's really up to you. Just you don't
Mhm.
gotta make it hard on yourself, especially if you know what the output is. Something like Instagram, which is already gonna be
True.
compressed.
We always have to say that it's just for Instagram. We'll be fine.
It's for the gram.
Yeah, and again, just like Lightroom, you can do a split with the reference, vertical, horizontal, or side by side. All right. Unfortunately, since we're working with vertical video, doing the side by side is totally fine. If you're doing horizontal, it can kind of get a little bit
It's a
stretched on the
little weird,
screen,
Yeah.
but this works super well. So we'll just kind of get these close, maybe give it a little bit brighter exposure, bring down the highlights a little bit.
I think if you just want to kind of pop some of the colors, it almost still looks like a little flat.
Yeah, maybe give it a little bit more contrast.
Yeah, that helped.
Yeah, because these initial videos and photos are like pretty contrasty. While on the side by side, those look darn near perfect.
Nice job.
Thank you. All right. So yeah, I feel pretty good about that, especially
That's a
compared to
big
where
jump.
it came from.
Yeah.
So let's just call that good for now on this one. And again, we shot these in the same lighting conditions more or less. So we'll just make sure the exposure is looking good.
Looks good to me.
This one's maybe a little bit blue, so maybe just
I think it's that like the
the
white
color of the wood.
from
The
like our house. It's like a kind of a bit bluer. I don't know if you
That
have the
looks
ability to
pretty
like
good.
split tone with your like highlights.
You can, yeah. So you can do
Okay.
it in creative. Here you can,
Cool. Yeah, if you drag them a little more like
Just
towards the
warm it up.
yellow warmer. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better.
that definitely made a big difference. You're totally right. Let's do it here too. Cool. Yeah, I think that made a big difference. So now we'll hop into indoor lighting, which the previous one was outdoor lighting. Indoor lighting is always much more tricky. It's much more orange. It's always a struggle. So another fun little tool, just like Lightroom, again, it works most of the time, at least gets you a good baseline, is this eyedropper tool. So if you have something white in your scene, which for instance, this bedding is white, it'll white balance it for you. It won't necessarily match it to the white balance from the clip you're balancing to, but it'll kind of give you an idea of where to move your sliders. So kind of warm that up a little bit there. That's probably a little bit too pink.
Somehow everything we shot was super pink.
Yeah, must have just been our tint on the camera or something. So this needs some warming up or some brightening up for sure. Maybe like 0.4. Bring up the shadows because it's kind of a little bit flat. That's maybe still a little bit too blue.
And add like a smidge of contrast.
Yeah, I think that looks decent. Again, it's not perfect, but it
I think it
flows
blends well.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and copy that. And again, this is always a good thing too, is coloring with, a different set of eyes, because everyone can see things a little different, especially a photographer who spends a lot more time looking at one particular photo, I feel like is a lot better at coloring, because as more of a video like creative person, I'm always looking at all of the video, like just making sure the lighting's balanced through all of it and like thinking about cutting and everything. Whereas with photography, I think you're more focused on colors. So it always helps to have her kind of give that creative input with coloring, because
Yeah.
that's your strong suit.
We actually like see colors differently. Like I actually have a hard time seeing the
True.
color blue. So
That's why you don't like it.
yeah.
Must be.
It's revealed.
Apparently, I figured that out a couple years ago. I looked at a photo and was like, "Oh, there's so much blue in it," and everyone around me was like, that's gray," and I was like, "No, it's blue," and
You remember
everyone else
that,
said it's gray.
Do you remember that viral
Dress.
thing, like the dress? Like,
Yes.
is it blue or gold? You probably saw gold or blue.
I saw black and blue.
Black and blue, yeah.
Yeah,
I saw gold. I'm like,
that
that
baffles me.
was crazy times.
Okay, so let's just kind of go through these. There's just 2 more scenes left, so it should be really quick to color, and then we'll kind of drop in our effects and wrap everything up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that little like title card I made might fit into the beginning of the video. Maybe it won't, I don't know, but I thought it could be fun.
All right, Olivia, how do you feel about this clip? What do we think it needs? They're very, very different.
Yeah, highlights
little-
down for sure, just because there's that reflection on the like
This brightness
plant,
right
which
here.
obviously we can't change, but can just help it out a little bit. I I wish you could do like a graduated filter like in Lightroom and just like add some contrast to the left side of it, but not the right.
You kind of can, but just for the sake of
Sake of time.
being on Instagram, well, maybe we'll
Right,
tackle
you're
that
right.
in another one.
Just for
I think
Instagram.
that looks pretty good. Maybe a little bit more pink. No.
No, maybe can you take down the shadows a little bit?
It's close. I think that's the green of this plant that's really throwing it off. It looks good
Yeah.
compared to our reference photo. I think that we'll just have to like kind of roll with it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can change the hue of the
True.
green a little bit, maybe a little bit less, like darker, like the luminance down, maybe.
So instead of putting a point for all of these, I'm just going to put one on each side and then kind of drag the green.
That's like a little
Yeah,
bit
I
better
think that
for
that
sure.
made a good difference. Okay, let's call that good for now for this one, and we'll go ahead and copy this to the others. So now this one we went super pink.
That looks
because
very different.
The lighting is very different. So let's go back to our basic correction and maybe make it like
It needs a bit of
-2,
contrast.
and definitely needs some contrast. It's got a little bit of a light leak coming in, I believe. Okay, that looks
Yeah, it looks better.
a lot better. And now we're on to this totally different scene. So let's start with this one. So this is the last set. We'll kind of tint it maybe not that much pink. Ooh.
Oh, there it is.
I hated that.
Call that a wrap too.
Yep, that's maybe like
We have a comment from the chat says, I imagine after doing this for so long, you guys have a massive amount of really fabulous interior decoration.
Olivia definitely loves her interior decoration. She's very good at it.
Yes.
I mean, we can tell even by your camera feeds. I mean, we got some awesome plants, props.
Yes.
Looking good.
How do we feel about that, Olivia? Maybe just like a little bit of contrast? I think
Yeah,
that looks
I
pretty
almost
good.
want to say a little bit higher on the highlights, but I need to see the next clip because this is pretty tight.
It's a pretty tight shot. Let's just leave them at 0, and I feel like that looks pretty solid. The next clip is also pretty tight. So let's
Okay.
go ahead and just start with this as our baseline. And I think maybe I want to drag this one just ever so slightly like that. So this one maybe needs like just like a 0.2 of exposure.
We have a comment from the chat with Steve. Seems to know a bit about woodworking.
Oh, perfect.
Oh yeah?
Enlighten
tracks-
us.
He goes, those tracks through the wood are the result of the mini termite-like bugs called borers. Usually they don't stick around after the wood dries out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Good
That's
to know.
cool. That makes sense because we
that's
didn't
nice,
ever
Steve.
see any bugs.
Yeah, let's make sure they definitely don't stick around because I don't want our house to have termites. That'd be
cool.
awful. Build a house 2 months later, it has termites. That'd be great.
Let's maybe bring the highlights down a bit in this one. Or the whites.
Yeah, I figured this shot would be a little bright.
It definitely needs a bit of contrast.
I love that this video is like shorter than what we were working on yesterday because we can really like actually show everyone the entire coloring process since we don't have as much to work with. So
Yeah.
I think it's fun. Hopefully other people think coloring is fun.
Coloring is a big one. I mean, I think it's something when you're starting out that could be overlooked, and then you just have all these mismatched shots.
Yeah.
But when you actually get it consistent and have that, I mean, even at the beginning, people were like, wow, you have a very consistent look across your branding. And that's huge because a lot of it goes into all this time and dedication just like this.
Definitely.
All right, Olivia, what do you think about this last clip here?
That looks great.
I
No
think-
complaints.
I think we're good on the coloring. So cool. All right. So coloring is done. So now we get to do the fun part. We get to add in all of the little titles and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and import all of the graphics that Olivia made. So again, we've got our graphics folder here. So I'm just going to drag the whole thing in.
Cool. And just a quick time check. We have about 15 minutes left.
Perfect. That should be exactly what we want.
Looks like
we'll-
Steve has a bit of experience with these borers. He says a friend bought a
Okay.
house with amazing internal design, including some cool steps, super nice, but some borers thought they'd try and eat them anyway. Pesky
Ooh,
little
no
things.
fun. Okay, so we've got these 4 little cards that Olivia made here.
And you made these, was that with the iPad, Olivia?
Yeah, in Adobe Sketch.
Awesome.
I love it. It's
we'll
so
put-
easy to make, just like YouTube thumbnails, little like graphics or anything that you want in your videos. It just gives it a little bit more of like you.
Yeah.
Which is
a
awesome.
personal touch.
Yeah. And I'm certainly no artist, but it's fun.
What I'm doing is I'm just going to go kind of see when the frame starts when we start the next step, which would be sanding. Should be, oh, there it is. So then we'll drag this sand title here. And again, we'll go through and we'll adjust these so that it's not massive in the screen. And let's turn off the comparison view.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was even still on.
Sand the surface, we do that, and then we wet the wood to get all of the dust off. Starts right there. And then we put the sealer on. So then we'll throw that title on. All right. So now let's go ahead and instead of doing this in After Effects, I think we can handle this pretty simple in Premiere. The 25% looks about good. Maybe we put the titles up here at the top, kind of switch it up, do an upper third since this is where the majority of everything is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you
And
gonna
it's
put
good
in those
contrast,
little
too.
blob things or no?
Yeah, I think I will, but I'll make that background in After Effects and then we can bring that in just so that there's a little bit of talking
Cool.
between the two. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this motion to all of them so that they all kind of show up in the same spot. This one's a little different since it's a bit bigger, so let's go ahead and give it some love of its own. Cool, so I think those titles look pretty good. So let's hop into After Effects. And basically what Olivia did that we're gonna work on next is she made these 3 backgrounds that we're gonna animate.
And that was used, or that was made in Sketch as well?
Yeah, all of this
Correct.
was in Adobe Sketch.
Actually, I think we can do it just as easy in Premiere as we could in After Effects. So let's just stick with Premiere because it's really good too.
You have
Okay.
to add the newest one too.
I will, but it's somewhere in here. So we're just gonna drag these 3 background clips in, and we're gonna make them all just like a few frames long, maybe like 4 frames. And this is going to kind of give us a similar effect to what we were working with yesterday. At least that's the goal. We'll see how it looks.
True. We haven't actually tested this yet, so if it fails, you guys get to see
We're
us
doing it live.
fail.
So let's first make it scaled to the right size.
So Val is asking Olivia, have you ever used Fresco?
I have dabbled in Fresco like very, very minimally at Adobe Max last year, but I just for some reason feel a little bit more comfortable with Adobe Sketch. But Fresco is so cool. Like watching it debut and just seeing the capabilities of it was so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier to stick to the apps that you know. But I will say, just looking at these little designs that you have, I think if you mess with those watercolor brushes, you could see some really cool backgrounds.
Yeah,
Admittedly, I don't
watercolor
use it at all that
Fresco
much.
is
I've watched a lot of streams because I have to run these. And I've seen the magic that comes with the watercolor brushes, but yeah, that stuff's next level.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's about the scale that we want. And see how these 3 blobs are very similar. So we're just going to go and just,
You
I
can
guess
copy and paste. a clip,
Wonderful verbiage.
Yeah. You're doing like manual stop frame animation. It's a really cool trick.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
It's super easy. No like crazy effect.
Yeah, which is how I like to do things because I'm not like very proficient in After Effects like Zach is. So I like to find these little hacks that I can do with just some like simple video editing knowledge because I think a
Right.
lot of people are kind of in the same boat where they're like, Maybe
it's
I'll
definitely
just.
a hack. I mean, there's so many ways to do this. I mean, you could take it into After Effects and flip some of the X and Y rotations with keyframes, or as you did 3 different ones and then you just copy and paste across the board. It's definitely a hack. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's like one of the beauties of, I think, of production is there's not really a right or wrong way to do pretty much anything.
Exactly.
Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's kind of give this a look and see how it's looking.
Wait, it actually turned out like we wanted it to. That's great.
Yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It might be a little fast.
It's a little fast, yeah, but it turned out how we wanted it to. You might need
Did
to
you do 3 frames for those? Or
I did
what was the interval? 4 frames.
So I think that's what I need to do. And then if I copy this, it'll go on the right track. I always forget what the trick is to make it copy to the track I want it to. Okay, there we go. So let's do, maybe like half that speed. So maybe like 8 frames.
That seems to be our sweet spot.
Yeah, I guess that is what we did yesterday. So that would make sense. Oops, that is what we would want. Okay, let's take a look. That looks a lot better, I think.
I think we need to make it a little smaller all around because I feel like it's kind of overshadowing the. Sorry, I didn't know you had to undo it all.
No, I agree. I think it's definitely maybe like a little bit big. So let's make it like 20 on the scale.
Like I think the 15. Text and the blob thing both need to scale down a bit.
Maybe a bit more like that.
Yeah, move the blob like down a little bit.
Maybe somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that looks good. So let's go ahead and just see how we're looking there. Okay.
I think it's less overshadowing that way.
Definitely. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and copy this motion to these as well. This one's going to need a little bit more work.
Where did this font come from? Was this just manually written by
I'm just drawing it. I love like just hand drawn because it looks like imperfect and kind of messy.
That's great.
Like
Here I'm thinking it's an actual font that you can get, but it's your handwriting. That's great.
No, I just think it's cute to just have something like hand drawn because there's so many hand drawn fonts, but they still look kind of like perfect. So I like when it looks a little imperfect.
I agree.
Oh, that like carried over there a little bit. There you go.
All right, cool. Well, that's that one. And so there's just one more drawing that Olivia made. So let me go ahead and airdrop it to us. Airdrop. She texted it to me so I can send it from my phone to the computer.
Ooh, airdrop. Did work.
It's a fun little
sound
effect.
No, that's the one from yesterday. I've got so many different little things that we've sent between each other.
Oh, I think it's up there maybe.
No. Oh, it hadn't finished sending yet. That's why.
Oh.
It says it's still sending. Okay, there we go. Took a long time. Must be a big photo.
Yeah, that's what I was drawing at the beginning.
Stump project?
I thought it could be cute in the intro. I don't know where, but somewhere maybe.
All right, let's call this
the Stump project. That's just what it's been called in my on my hard drive. So I figured I could just give the video a title, and that's what it is.
So maybe we can just like overlay this somewhere in the beginning. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, I just need to see like I kind of forgot like what is the actual beginning. Like, is there a good spot for it somewhere in the beginning, or do we have leeway to like create like not overlay it but put it somewhere else? I don't really know.
I don't know.
Greetings, my friends. So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me,
maybe we could
where
put
did you
it
get
more
this?
towards
Yeah,
the
wait.
Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard, which is the truth. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can. We're gonna show you how we make.
I think when I say "and now you can,"
If you can get one, and now you can.
There it
Yeah,
is.
maybe line
Nice.
it up like right there with that. And that should snap. Oh, for some reason snap was turned off.
We're gonna show you how we make them, and then you can get them.
Cool. I think that looks
Sure,
really,
why not?
really nice.
Yeah,
All
I'd
right.
probably just use that graphic for like a thumbnail, like for the actual like video. But
Yeah.
why not?
Well, cool. All right. So this part is done. So now we just have one last section really quick. It's going to be making it into a reel. So super easy. We're just going to do, again, a new sequence.
Yeah, and just in case anyone is not up with the times yet, a few weeks ago, Instagram released a new feature called Instagram Reels, like REEL. It's basically just like TikTok, but it's integrated into the Instagram application. It's where you can make a 15-second sort of like looping video, vertical video, and it's quickly been like rising in popularity. So it's been very fun for us to make Instagram Reels because we never hopped on the TikTok trend, but we love to just stay loyal and keep things integrated in Instagram. So
Does this
Instagram
live as a
Reels are
post
fun.
or as a story that goes away?
So you can do it two ways. You can post, and when you post the reel, you can say, I only want it to show up on my Reels tab and not on my feed in a post. Or you can say, post it to my feed as well, and it'll kind of live and it looks like, a photo on your feed as well. That's how I do it because I figure why not just have double the exposure.
Yeah.
And if any of you guys are, have projects or something that you're really trying to like promote right now, Instagram is really pushing reels and video content in general. So it's really easy to post a reel and just get a lot of eyes on it. I made a really simple DIY reel with my iPhone one day, and it has over 100,000 views. And that's usually not what I get on my Instagram
Nice,
videos.
cool
So
tip.
yeah,
Definitely.
good tip.
So
So just
Sequence
quick time
settings.
check. We have about 3 minutes left.
easy. This is only going to take maybe 30 seconds, I think. So
Love it.
basically, it's almost the exact same sequence settings, but they're 60 or 9 by 16. So it's 1080 by 1920 for reels. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then all we got to do is just go over here into this one, our cut version, and just drag this because a reel can only be 15 seconds. So let's go to here, 15.0, and we'll set our out point. And we're going to use that fancy R tool that I was telling you about to make this stop motion exactly. Oh, I have everything selected. To make this stop motion exactly 15 seconds. So we'll drag this, boom, 15. And then we'll just make sure everything's lined up. Got to do a quick scale of this, make it a little bit bigger. Maybe 33 is the sweet spot.
That's fine, yeah.
All right. And then we'll just kind of drag our little title sequences around. And that should do the trick. Okay, so there's the first frame. Oops. All right, strip the bark. All right, and when we start sanding right here,
And then we'll
sand the surface
put music to it as well, I assume. Not right
Yes.
now, but before we export.
before we export it. And then right here, boom, wet the surface. And then right here, we'll apply the sealer. And then we'll just delete these extra ones here at the end.
Bye.
Trim everything down. And that's really all there is to it. We'll go ahead and grab that audio like Olivia was saying. So again, we can just kind of grab maybe like this last 15 seconds and put it there. Reels are a little bit less important to have everything sound perfect. So we'll just
Yeah, because it's just a looping video.
So we'll just kind of add a little fade in here. and let's see how it sounds.
Cool.
Sweet. And now we have our reel.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, we've got our full 1 minute for her feed, and then we also have the reel. So I would say.
So we have 1 minute left. Do you want to just play this whole video real quick? So we
Yeah,
can just
let's
kind of
do
get-
it.
Yeah, let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it.
Let's do the whole thing.
Greetings, my friends. So I have a stump. A lot of people ask me, where'd you get this? Where did you buy this? Where can I get it? And every time I say it's from the tree in my old front yard, which is the truth. So we decided we're gonna make a bunch of stumps because you guys always ask if you can get one, and now you can. We're gonna show you how we make them, and then you can get them.
I'm so excited to launch these.
Right.
This is looking so cool.
I just love the integration of like photo and video in this
It
project.
definitely adds a lot.
Yeah, they coexist so well for this. Boom. Cutting to that beat. I love it.
Amazing.
Good job, you two.
Thank you. Yeah, so
That's
stay tuned on our
awesome.
Instagram, and we'll have this post up live probably
And
tonight.
you can buy a stump.
Yes. So go check out Alivia. Go check out Zach Field social media. Again, where can they find you at? Is it?
My Instagram and my
Yeah, have it
YouTube,
up.
they're both at Alivia Fields. Olivia spelled with an A, contrary to what is normal. And yeah, I'm the same. Zach doesn't really use his social media, so you can find him on mine as well.
Cool.
Perfect.
That's awesome. All right, we got to wrap up. So I just want to say a huge thanks to you, Olivia and Zach. Thank you for joining us. What you did was amazing. I'm so glad we got to
Thank
see
you.
it wrapped up. I'm going to go ahead and say stick around. Jesse Showalter's coming up back next. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you all very shortly.
Bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
All right, see you later.